I'm Sarah Thompson. Welcome to our community news program. We begin with a discussion of the levy for the Corvallis School District that is on the upcoming election.
The ballot measure on the May 19th elections for bonds for the Corvallis School District is a direct result of the problems associated with the passage of Ballot Measure 5 a couple of years ago. As a result of that passage of that measure, the legislature has enacted a school funding program that will bring all districts down to the state average. That means over the next several years, Corvallis School District will need to reduce its budget significantly. The impact for next year is $2.6 million worth of reductions. The ballot measure that will be on the 19th election is a response to the community from items we heard as we were developing our budget in response to the question of how can we have some local control back in this situation. Corvallis has always supported schools well. They have pride in their schools, and they've chosen to spend the funds to have an excellent school system. Ballot Measure 5 has taken that choice away from them. The bond measure that's on the ballot measure gives back a little bit of that choice. It works this way. The statutes enacting Ballot Measure 5 allows the principal and interest on capital construction and maintenance items to be, for bond issues, for those type of items, to be exempted from the limitations of the Ballot Measure 5 property tax limitations. We have about $1 million a year in our general fund budget, even after the reductions are taken, of necessary maintenance items that can be moved over to this type of bond funding. If we do that, and then we would free up within the general fund $1 million of the $2.6 million that we would have to cut to reinstate teacher positions and program costs. The bond measure is a 4-year program. It plans to spend in today's dollars $1 million per year, so you need to inflate that over the 4-year period, and there's some bond issuing costs that's involved. The total package is $4.6 million for the 4 years. These expenditures would be paid from the proceeds of the bond funds, and the bond would be retired through a property tax levy that would pay off the principal and interest. We would pay back the bonds within the same 4-year period that the bonds were spent. Thus, the measure is more like a serial levy than it is a bond issue, but it meets the statutory requirements under Ballot Measure 5 as a bond issue. The cost per thousand is about 60 cents per thousand. This is much less than the $2.50 per thousand year reduction that there will be as a result of Ballot Measure 5. So there will still be a savings from Ballot Measure 5 for the local community. It is our response to the community's suggestion that a local choice be given. If the voters approve this, we will have $1 million less reductions in our program than we would have had if they don't approve it. If it's not approved, we would still have a balanced budget under the state statutes, but the local control will be taken away from us.
Speaking in favor of the levy is Bob Johnson, a local citizen and father.
I urge your support of the school levy on the May 19th ballot. The basis for my request for your support is very simple. The school levy on the ballot is the only option we have at this point to maintain some local control of the investment we are going to make in schools in Corvallis. With Post Measure 5, the state is now in control of that funding, and the result is that the Corvallis School District will receive a level of funding per student that is equal to every other school district in the state. That means less for Corvallis. We have historically made a greater investment in our children and in the quality of education than most school districts in the state. The current funding formula is unacceptable. I know all of you would join me in saying that a high priority we have in Corvallis is to maintain quality education for our children and to be able to make funding choices and decide some of the level of investment that will be made on behalf of those children's education. With this school levy, we are not solving the overall school funding problem that will be facing us in the next few years, but it does give us a 4-year period of time whereby we can make some decisions locally and decide to make some investments in teachers and in education for our children that the current funding formula does not allow. By joining me in support for this levy, we will maintain some local control. We will be able to make some additional investments such that the quality of education for children in the Corvallis School District will approach the levels that we have historically been used to and that we want to maintain in this school district. I urge you joining me in support of the school levy to maintain high-quality education and local control of funding for our children's future.
We were unable to locate anyone willing to speak against the levy. Recently, the Oregon State vet students and lots of local animal lovers celebrated Pet Day.
Saying goes, every dog has its day. This time, they really did. Every color, shape, and size of dog you could think of was sniffing about at Oregon State University's veterinary school. What was all the doggone excitement about? Everyone had come to join in the festive events of the 5th annual Pet Day, sponsored by the Students' Chapter of American Veterinary and Medical Association and the College of Veterinarian Students. Over 3,000 people came to show off their companion in some special way. A lot of people entered their special pet in the contest for the best trick. The judges had a hard time making a decision. Was it Fuzzy the Worm or Ralph the Wonder Dog? You and your dog could even learn how to perform in a dog show. Learning how to walk or run by the judge, or the proper way your dog should stand. For those who just wanted to watch, some dogs showed off their herding skills. A very popular event, well, with the owners, was the dog wash. Some dogs did seem to know they would get a bag of treats after the bath, flea dip, and drying. But what is Pet Day all about?
Oh, you know, primarily it's an educational opportunity and it's a fun opportunity. The whole family can come out and enjoy themselves. And there's something.
Pet Day comes in time to kick off National Pet Week. So today just wasn't for the dogs. There were many things to do and see. Like the Norwegian fjord with its striped mane. Or a pot-bellied pig and her piglet.
As long as they're tired.
And even some goats. Exotic animals were also on display if you ever wanted to touch a python or a rare snake. There were chinchillas to look at and different kinds of birds. This bird obviously felt caged. As always, one of the most popular events was the horse rides. The kids seemed to like this one. With all the events packed into one fun-filled day, it left some of us a little tired.
With all the great weather and the happy faces here at Pet Day, this is Heather Clark and Pepper for KBVR of Community Interest.
A local issue that has generated a lot of interest is Measure 0206. This is the summary of the Charter Amendment as it will appear on the ballot. This measure prohibits the city from recognizing homosexuality, pedophilia, sadism, and masochism under such terms as sexual orientation, sexual preference, and similar phrases. This measure prohibits city agencies and departments from taking any action or sending any local money to promote, encourage, or facilitate homosexuality, pedophilia, sadism, and masochism. This measure does not nullify any civil rights protection based on race, religion, color, sex, marital status, familial status, national origin, age, or disability. This measure does not forbid enactment of certain employment laws. Copies of the measure can be obtained from the City Records Office. The following are opinions supporting and opposing passage of the measures.
Hi, my name is John King, Chief Petitioner for the No Special Rights Initiative, number 0206 on the May primary ballot in Corvallis. I'm urging you to vote yes on 0206 to protect our community from the gay rights agenda. Although many of you are probably familiar with the promotion of homosexuality by the National Endowment for the Arts, you may not be familiar with events happening right here in our community. For instance, our public library recently purchased this book for its children's section. The book is entitled Heather Has Two Mommies and is simultaneously appearing in school districts around our state. The book describes the life of a young girl named Heather who is being raised by two lesbian women and who, according to the story, was conceived by artificial insemination. The amazing fact is that this book is targeted for first graders and you and I are paying for it. While the city is propagandizing our youth, Oregon State University has become involved in religious censorship. According to this document issued by the university some time ago, religious groups on campus will now be forced to accept practicing homosexuals or lose their status as official college groups. On an even more serious note, however, our City Council last year issued Ordinance 91, which is a 33-page complex piece of legislation granting special rights to homosexuals. According to Ordinance 91, extreme penalties could be imposed against anyone who, quote, discriminates against homosexuals, and the City Council would have broad powers to determine just what constitutes discrimination. Violators could lose their homes, cars, or even their businesses. These are fascist tactics, and they represent a serious threat to our community. It is out of a firm desire to oppose this nonsense that I became a chief sponsor for Measure 0206. Measure 0206 will not criminalize homosexuality or encourage discrimination. It will simply stop homosexuals from using local government to advance their agenda through dangerous laws like Ordinance 91. Measure 0206 will, however, stop local government from using our hard-earned tax dollars and public property to support homosexual advocacy groups. Measure 0206 will save taxpayers thousands and thousands of dollars in civil rights lawsuits and test cases which will inevitably occur should gay rights laws go into effect. Measure 0206 will not cause homosexuals to lose their jobs. All existing laws dealing with housing and employment will remain in effect. In fact, Measure 0206 specifically contains a clause designed to stop arbitrary discrimination. Measure 0206 is a good law that will preserve equal rights for all citizens, but will stop local government from granting special rights to homosexuals through bad laws like Ordinance 91. Please, for the sake of our community, join me in supporting equal rights for all citizens and special rights for none. Vote yes on Measure 0206. Thank you.
I'm Annabelle Jaramillo, and I'm the campaign manager for the No on 0206 committee. I'm here to ask you to join those of us on the No on 0206 committee to vote no on Ballot Measure 0206. If passed, Ballot Measure 0206 would result in firing of city employees based on presumed sexual orientation, regardless of job performance. It could prevent groups supportive of human rights from using city-owned meeting rooms, parks, and other facilities. It could permit refusal of services in coffee shops, restaurants, stores, banks, and other facilities to persons based on perceived sexual orientation. It would cost taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars to defend the city of Corvallis against lawsuits. A similar law was recently ruled unconstitutional by the California Supreme Court. The ballot measure would censor public library materials by or about lesbians and gay men. These would include works by Walt Whitman, Willa Cather, Dudley Somerset Maugham, Gertrude Stein, Leonardo da Vinci, and many others. It would protect and legalize discrimination based on sexual orientation, and it could prohibit the City Council from passing any ordinance that would punish such discrimination, no matter how blatant and unjust. Please join the many elected officials, pastors, individuals, and organizations here in the city of Corvallis who will be voting no on Measure 0206 on May 19th. Join us to defeat Ballot Measure 0206. Vote no.
Thank you for watching. I'm Sarah Thompson, and this is Of Community Interest.